Meantime, 9 brand new electric vehicles worth £525,000 have been found abandoned on a Nottingham street. This is after the US maker Fisker went bust. The American EV firm filed for bankruptcy back in June 2024 and failed following failed rescue talks. Meanwhile, the number of cars on Britain's road hit a record high last year with nearly 2 million registrations. So that's interesting for the car industry. Almost 20% of them electric. I keep reading conflicting headlines, I have to say, that the electric revolution is more than underway and more people than ever are going for EVs. And then once in a while I'll find another headline that says, oh, actually, it's not all it's cracked up to be, and whether it's buyer's remorse or people just not taking a risk on an industry, perhaps we still need a little more education on. Let's speak with the motoring journalist, former Top Gear presenter Quentin Willson. I think you're at the Everything Electric event as we speak, Quentin, is that right?
That's right. I'm at the fabulous Excel Centre in London, Ian, interviewing people about electric cars. So we've got lots of people here who are electric car enthusiasts, and some of them have owned electric cars for 3 or 4 years. So it's great to talk to them and see what they think. Yeah,
I've always been intrigued by your story because, as a former Top Gear presenter, you're meant to just moan about things like progress and electric cars, but actually you were an early adopter of the electric. Was it a Nissan Leaf you had to start with, Quentin?
Oh, I started with a little thing called a Mitsubishi Imea, which was a miserable, hateful...
I drove one of those as well, yeah.
Yeah, 50 miles to one charge. And look how far they've come. But I think, look, it's important that we do this. Not everybody has to drive an electric car, Ian. You know, you'll drive combustion cars for the next 50 years, probably. Yeah. But I spoke to a man in there who's had a Tesla Model 3 for 3 years, lives in Spain. So I said, how much does it cost you over that 3 years? You know, what have you had to spend on it? And he goes, washing. I said, what do you mean, washing? And he says, just the money in the car wash. It's never been serviced. It hasn't used any tyres, anything like that. Now, that's kind of a breakthrough, isn't it?
Wow.
You know, if you run a car for 4 years without having to spend a tanner on it,
yeah, that's
the sort of reliability and the sort of costs we want.
Well, indeed. Is that, do you sense, though, Quentin, a kind of common story?
A common story. Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody you talk to would never go back to combustion. Everybody who drives them says that their bills for maintenance are virtually nothing because you don't really need to service them, just cabin filter, maybe rotate the tyres. And they've been completely reliable. I can't get anybody in there to say, I hate my electric car. I want to give it back. They all say, Yeah, and some of them are on 3 or 4 electric cars now.
Wow. So they are fully signed up in that respect. I do wonder whether I don't know if this is a lack of education or whether it's something else. I was saying to a colleague earlier, if I go to a garage to if I want to buy a second-hand car, Quentin, and say it's got 50,000 miles on the clock, my head can make that work. I know what 50,000, and if it's a fairly new car and it's an Audi or a Volvo BMW, I know that 50,000 would be like 10,000 a few years ago. It's going to be in fairly good nick. I can do the maths. I can work. I can look at the car. I understand that. If somebody says, here's an electric Audi, it's done 50,000 miles on the clock, I can't quite compute what that means, if that makes sense.
Well, that means that the car is barely run in because the data we're getting back from billions of miles worth of EV use across the world is that EV batteries are lasting on average about 18 years. So if you do 50,000 miles, you know, it's nothing. There are Teslas coming off taxi fleets with 400, 500,000 miles. I drove one with 250,000 miles on the other day, and it was great. You know, nothing wrong with it at all. So that kind of fear that the battery's going to fail, it's no longer justified because we've got really robust data to prove it. And as you said in your intro, 2 million EVs out there. We're not hearing the stories, Ian, are we, about them being crap, about them catching fire, about them being, you know, left by the roadside, apart from these Fiskers, which happened in June.
Yeah.
So, you know, go on.
I was just about to say, what about running them? Because you're right. You mentioned the guy that you spoke to said that, you know, it's working out really well. I keep hearing people say, if you're charging it from home, your quid's in. But if you're charging it, you know, on the M6, where it's likely to be a fairly costly issue.
Sure. I mean, we need more public chargers. We need the government to cut the VAT on public charging, because it's 20%. And also, you said in your intro, like, you know, politicians and our trust in them. We've got ministers telling us to buy EVs on one side. Then we've got the Treasury charging us more to charge EVs on public chargers. And also, Ian, a £620 EV vehicle excise duty on anything over 40 grand. Do they want us to drive them or not?
Yeah.
You know, it's not stable, unified policies, and that's what I want to see. Whether you like them or not, let's at least make it understandable for ordinary people.
And having the infrastructure, charging infrastructure in place, which is at the moment still woeful. I mean, if rates grew of ownership, we're going to be in trouble, aren't we?
Well, it's not woeful because you talk to people in there, and one of the questions I ask them is, how do you get on charging your EV? And they all say, okay, you know, the infrastructure is out there. The reason why you don't know there's infrastructure out there is there are no signs. That's another thing. Why aren't there signs to EV chargers on motorways? And I talked to DFT, I talked to Treasury. Oh, no, that's too difficult. There are all these rules and complicated. Just make it happen. Do it in a week because you can.
Yeah.
Well, Ian,
we're talking British politicians, Quentin. I mean, that's expecting a lot, isn't it? It's like turning an oil tanker around over there at government HQ.
So look, you know, let's not make it a culture. What another man in there told me that he's got solar and battery on his house, and his energy bill for the whole of March, 27 quid.
Wow.
I look at my energy bill, I think I'm buying a car. So this is why electric cars are important, because they get us towards that thing of batteries in our houses, solar panels on our roof, and being mainly off the grid, so you don't have these crippling energy bills.
Yeah. Listen, it's good endorsing stuff. Quentin, always great to get you on. Enjoy the rest of the event over there, the electric event at Excel London. He is, of course, Quentin Willson, legendary motoring journalist, former Top Gear presenter. I remember talking to Quentin a decade ago about electric cars. He was, you know, certainly very critical of how they were performing back then. He's saying there is literally nothing to regret about buying an electric car. They are tip-top and very, very efficient to run. When I hear someone like him say that, I think I better go and buy one. I talk about this often, not often, every now and again. So we've got a Volvo, which is a bit of a gas guzzler, and then we've got this little run-around Toyota Aygo. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Is it Aygo? Iego? I have no idea. It's being MOT'd next week, and do you know what? This son of a gun has passed its MOT every flipping year. And what I really want is the bloke to go,